Hello everyone and welcome to the FPL Cougars show. I am Chris.
I'm Kieran.
And today we are previewing Gameweek 8. So tonight's show we're going to be discussing each upcoming Gameweek fixture, predicting the potential key players, differentials and clean sheets. You know the drill. We'll also talk captaincy, reveal our team's planned transfers and our Cougar Cub picks. We just wanted to say before we get into the show, if you haven't subscribed to us yet on the platform you're currently watching or listening to us on, then you should do that right now. We'll be previewing every game week this season, and we've got more good stuff happening after the international break. Right then, Kieran, game week 7. Let's talk about it. It was a small green arrow for me. How was it for you?
Another red arrow, of course.
Oh, no. Going into it, we knew, didn't we, that you were going to have Antonio out, and you'd said on the show last week you didn't want to make that transfer.
Yep.
You were going to roll it. That's right. But then I suppose Pulisic out as well.
Yeah, that was the kick in the teeth. So yeah, Pulisic. I was saw the team news. Saw Werner was benched or Pulisic starting. I was thinking, let's go. It's time to make up some ground on some people who obviously have Werner, and I felt Pulisic could do well in that game. And what goes and happens, he gets injured in the warm up, but Werner plays 90, he still scores, and it's just like. It's just my luck this season. So yeah, that was just the start of the crap from there, really. Because I don't think anyone else basically returned from after that point in the week for me. So
no, because you'd had a good Friday night, hadn't you? And a Saturday morning with Kilman and was it James as well? I think returning some points for you.
Yeah, yep.
And then after that, it went downhill. So I mean, we'll talk more about your plans coming up. But are you thinking about the wildcard over the international break? Or are you still thinking about saving that for what could be that double?
Still saving it, I think.
Okay.
Still saving.
Okay. All right, so I had 58, moved from just over 1 million to just inside 924k. It was the attackers that really did the work for me. Ings, Calvert-Lewin, Kane, all returning. Grealish as well was my big point in midfield. Brought him in week before last, so it was good to see him get I think it was a bit late on, so I'm not quite sure it was fully justified, but like points in the 97th minute. And I mean, I suppose they all count, but yeah. It was a bit of a strange one to see that come in. I've had my 4th captain blank now in 7 game weeks, which isn't great, is it? So Son captain, and he had an awful game by the look of the stats. He had an XG of 0.01, so yeah, I was pretty disappointed with that. But yeah, 58 points, and I've just got to start picking some better captaincies.
You were the one trying to convince me to go to Son.
I know.
Yeah.
Glad you didn't. All right, manager of the week. Who have we got?
Yeah, so it's Marianne with Sanguine Morgana, I think is the person, but the team name Marianne. 90 points, overall rank of 40k, up from 280k, with Cody on 6, the Grealish with 15, Mount 6, Madison even got 4 points off the bench, Ward-Prowse with the 17, Kane on 6, Vardy captain on 28, Ings as well with 6, so... yeah, big differential captain, Ward-Prowse as well in there, Madison. So got and Mount as well, I suppose. So it's sort of a differential team there, but it's working. So nice. Yeah,
nice score. Even like you say, Lamptey on the bench as well. Nice 90 points. Right on the Cubs front.
Baby. Okay. So I obviously was going to go Mopai first of all, and obviously switched it in the end to McGinn. I think my backups were both Ziyech and Jota, who both scored, obviously, and then McGinn blanked for 2 points. So I'm an idiot for picking McGinn over those two, obviously. So, yeah. But then you went and picked Wilson, obviously, who got, was it brace? Baby. Penalty and like a touch off into the line, basically. So, I don't know, I guess they all count for you, but 12 points there. And totals-wise, we're dead even now, 38 each over 7 weeks. So... yeah, like you said, just last week, one good haul and the other blank, and you get up there again. Yeah. So I think I've got good picks for this week, so we'll see. Okay,
all right. Let's move on to our game week preview. I'm going to bring our teams up on the screen, and I sort of load the images into the preview, so I don't really look at the team too much before it, but I can see straight away we've actually both gone Sun captaincy straight off the bat. You've obviously still got Antonio in your team, Pulisic there. Do you want to should we just muse a little bit about what your plans are initially before we start talking about all the players?
I've got a few options. The word on Pulisic is that it's a very minor tweak, and he's gonna miss Champions League tonight, but he could be on the bench for Sheffield United.
Right.
So that sounds like, I don't know. Is it enough for him to just be on the bench or against Sheffield United? Do I want to get rid of him? I'm not sure, because this might still keep happening with him. And then Antonio. I still don't know what his situation is really. We haven't had a time frame on it at all. So he could be back after the international break. We don't know, because after this week there's a 2-week international break, so he could be back then, and they've still got good fixtures. So I'm tempted to just do something like a Wickham up to a Wilson to get to a 3, and then just leave Antonio, possibly roll the other one, just let Pulisic do whatever. So that's an option. Or I could do Pulisic to someone like Kevin, maybe Kevin De Bruyne. I could do Antonio to Wilson as part of 2 free transfers. I have the exact money for that. Or I could do Wickham to Wilson, and then possibly Pulisic to Ziyech, something like that, or to Grealish, and then or I could just go Antonio to Wilson and just forget about it. So there is a good few options.
A lot of options.
I don't know what sounds the best at this point. I think I need to get out of the 4-4-2, so Wickham up to Wilson and rolling the other one might be a good idea, but yeah, I don't know. I do kind of want to get back on Kevin as soon as possible. Yeah, because I think going early on that might be quite good.
Be a stacked midfield again, though, wouldn't it? If you have Kevin in place of Pulisic, so much money in that midfield again. That would be then difficult to get back to that 3-4-3, I suppose, at some point.
I would probably sell Son from week 10 at that point.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense,
because their fixtures turn basically.
Yeah, they do quite bad. On my side of things, I didn't actually mention, did I, my transfer when I did the review? I actually took Werner out this week and brought in Kane, because I kind of fancied him after talking about lots of different transfers. I mean, it worked out well in the fact Kane scored, but it didn't work out well overall, because Werner did outscore him totally 7-6. Obviously had these 2 nice fixtures in mind before, like you say, Spurs' fixtures turn. So I'm hoping Kane against West Brom outscores Werner at home to West Brom. The problem I've got in my team, with many other managers will, Ings now been ruled out for up to 6 weeks, it looks like. And I've only got 1 free transfer, but he seems like a bit of a priority out at the moment because of his cost, really. So I'm going to be taking a little view on that at the moment. I'm sort of leaning towards a downgrade either to Wilson or Bamford, and then potentially upgrading Souček. But yeah, we'll talk more about that, I suppose, as we go through the preview. Okay, so the game week starts on Friday night, and we've got Brighton hosting Burnley. It's difficult to sort of analyse Burnley, their fantasy assets really. 1 point from 6 league games, pretty horrible start from them. They've got, usually you sort of rely on them from the defensive side of things, but 7th worst for expected goals in the last 4. Surprisingly, though, Brighton are actually worse than them on XG front. They've scored 5 goals, though, to Burnley's 1, so maybe they are underperforming somewhat. None of the Burnley players really standing out at the moment. They looked pretty poor, a little bit tepid in that game against Chelsea. I mean, we've seen, like we mentioned, the defensive side every week, but again, Pope leads the way of all their players, 17 points to the last 4. That's the 5th highest returning goalkeeper, and only 2 in front of him are actually cheaper. So he's proving like, again, maybe he's not bad value. In the top of that, he has the most saves of all goalkeepers. So yeah, perhaps he's going to returning to some form of last season, but at the moment he's still a bit too much money for me.
Yeah, I agree. So on the Brighton side, their fixtures are kind of mixed. This Burnley one looks good for them. Maybe Mopai can come back in. I don't know why he was rested or injured.
I think it was
not really
disciplinary
sure.
reasons. I thought he'd been naughty. And
I didn't hear that. Fair enough. And then Villa away after that. Villa have been good defensively. Obviously not the last 2, but then Liverpool at home, Southampton at home, Leicester away. Those 3 look tough. So the next 2, they're going to try or going to need to pick up some points. The only person I really want to mention is Lamptey. 4.7 million now, 11.2% owned. So yeah, when he got that goal, which obviously 100% should have been ruled out because it clearly was a foul in the build-up, and I don't think I've seen anyone anywhere that said that wasn't a foul. So how it's not ruled out is just completely beyond me. It just makes no sense whatsoever. And obviously that was quite a big swing for people who didn't have players playing. And obviously a lot of people had Lamptey on their bench. So Yeah, frustrating again. Just another little nail in my rank of my coffin. His XG and XA are 0.2, so they're pretty bad to be honest. But 2 shots and 4 key passes over the last 4 weeks, not great either. No. He passed his eye test, but honestly, I don't think he's really a great FPL asset. But obviously, people are getting points from him, so what do I know?
Yeah, it was funny because it was only last week I sort of said his stats and just overall contribution was way down, and he was basically only just inside the top 50 defensive assets. So yeah, to go and score the goal sort of rubbed it in my face a little bit. But like you say, it shouldn't have stood really. And the fact that the ref went over and even looked at it and didn't change his mind was a bit of a surprise, really.
It's just mental. Like, it is the most obvious foul you've ever seen. Like,
ridiculous.
It just doesn't make sense. I bet they're calling it a different phase of play, but like,
it shouldn't matter.
We've seen different things like chalked off for stuff like that. So yeah, just crazy.
Which way do you see this one going? I mean, Burnley now have got Brighton and Crystal Palace back to back. They've got to start picking up points. Do you think they can do it here?
Could be a really boring 0-0, couldn't it?
It could be, yeah. On Friday night to kick the game week off. Now I kind of think it's going to be a low-scoring one as well. I probably agree, 0-0. All right, let's try and talk about a game which potentially could be more interesting. Saints against Newcastle. So Southampton, we were both really looking forward to that game against Villa on Sunday, and it turned out to be a bit of a cracker. I think that the score flattered Villa a little bit because I think Southampton seemed to switch off towards the end of the game. What do you think about their prospects now that Ings is going to be out for the foreseeable?
I'm not so sure. I don't think I trust. I obviously got Antonio. I could go to someone like Adams, who I was thinking about last week. If I did make a move, it would have been Adams, who obviously did get an assist, but I don't know if I think he's going to be very good without Ings, because Ings offers a lot of sort of build up and dropping into the sort of 10 role at times. So I think Shane Long is not going to offer that, because I don't think he can play as one by himself really. So I think he's going to need Long, and I don't think Long offers what Ings does. So I think we could see Saints starting to struggle. And defensively, I think they've looked kind of poor. I think Newcastle probably score this week as well. I'm a bit worried about Saints, honestly. I would like to move McCarthy on if I could, but I don't think I can. Spending transfers of keepers is awkward. But if I'm bringing in Wilson, for example, I'm going to want Wilson to score against McCarthy, which doesn't sound ideal, but it is what it is. McCarthy at 4.5 million, he's 19.3% owned, which is quite high. So he's providing decent value at that 4.5 million. 7 saves versus Villa, which was probably due to towards the end, obviously. But he's only actually got 1 save point one other time during this whole season. So he got two last game, but he's only had 1 save point other time. So that's not ideal. And obviously at 4.5, you want your keepers to be getting save points. But then again, he has had 3 clean sheets, so that's up there. I don't see clean sheets coming too much. Newcastle, Wolves, Man United, Brighton, those 4 look like he could concede in all of them. Sheffield United might be a clean sheet, but that's not great. And then even Bertrand's got injured as well now, hasn't he? So that's sort of gone under the radar a little bit with Ings' injury, but Bertrand out as well is going to affect them defensively, and they don't really have much cover at wing back, or full back. But then there's Ward-Prowse, 3.3%, 5.8 million, absolute 2 amazing free kicks, and a great corner for Vestergaard's goal as well. So he's had 11 and 17 in his last 2, so he's pretty on fire at the moment. Do we see that continuing? Probably not, but he's probably back on penalties with Ings out, and that's a good thing for him, obviously. And he's 5.8 million, pretty cheap. Set pieces, he's always got the chance to score. So, and Vestergaard, huge. Bednarak, Stevens coming in, like they're all dangerous in the air. So he's not going to be an awful option. And I think if you want to go there and you still think Saints might be all right, then why not?
I do quite like James Ward-Prowse, but I do think his returns are going to be based on good quality free kicks. I mean, he did score a goal in open play, admittedly, against I think it was Everton the week before. But I think with Ings out, his sort of general open play assisting is going to be reduced a lot. Yeah. And I suppose it just comes down to how lucky you're going to get off a corner or a set piece. Are they going to run a fouls in the final third? How are they going to change their team? Hasenhüttl likes to play 2 up front. If he's only got Che Adams up there, is Shane Long going to come in? I think there's a lot of question marks, despite his low price. That put me off him, but he has played well, so we've got to give him that. On the Ings front, in terms of replacements, I've got in my team. Obviously, one player I'm looking at is they're going to be facing this weekend in Wilson. So he actually moved 1 point clear of Calvert-Lewin, who was just flavour of the early season, really, which is amazing that he's moved past him.
Seems crazy.
Yeah, he's totally overlooked. So he's basically got less than 15% ownership. I think it was about 14 odd now. Picked up the brace, the 3 bonus, so he's got 16, 2, 5 and 12 in last 4. Really, really good results. He's basically the spearhead of this Newcastle attack. He's scored a pen, or scored every pen he's had so far this season. Newcastle have had 18 shots in the box in the last 4. He's been responsible for 10 of them, so yeah, over 50% there. He looks like the Newcastle talisman, basically, and those are the sort of players you want to have in your FPL side. So I think it's a difficult one trying to choose a replacement for Ings, because you want a team who have got good attacking stats as well as the player having good defensive stats. I mean, Newcastle 18 shots in the box is the 5th worst of all teams in the last 4, so they're not prolific in front of goal, but it seems like when they have got the chances, Wilson's tucking them away. If you were on Ings, who else would you be sort of thinking he could do a job?
That's the problem. I don't think there is many other options.
Do you not? Okay.
If you have, well, I think Bamford has obviously had some. He's had big chances, but then he's gone back to being awful with his finishing for the last game. So other than that, like, if you don't fancy Adams, then Mitch Fitch, not interested. Then who else really is there? Like,
well, I just tell you one. I was having a look at the non-penalty expected goals, which I think is quite a useful one this season. We're trying to work out. So in the last 4 game weeks, Bamford does lead the way in that one. So he's had 3.69. In second place, Watkins, and in third place, Calvert-Lewin. And they've all got, well, Calvert-Lewin's got 2.4, Watkins 2.5. Vardy also is the only other striker with more than 2 on a non-penalty XG with 2.18. But so there's a few different type of options there.
Most people are going to have Calvert-Lewin already.
Yeah.
And Watkins has been, he's the definition of a trap. Mm-hmm. He's scored a hat-trick and blanked in every other game. So other than the penalty that Grealish gave him for some reason last week. So I don't think Watkins is a great option, even though he has got good fixtures. So I think if you've got the money in the bank, why not take a punt at Martial?
Yeah, it's not, but they've got some all right fixtures, haven't they? Yeah. Everton away, they've got Southampton up next after that at home, and then I think they've got West Brom after Everton, then Southampton. Brom, not got bad ones. I don't know. I just feel like for me personally, I kind of I'm really leaning towards Wilson because of the penalties, and if Newcastle seem to score at the moment, more than likely he's going to be involved in some way. And I know their attacking stats are bad, but I mean they've got to score something, and typically he's going to play 90 minutes and he's going to be involved. So yeah, I kind of like that about him.
Do you think he should be the one I should look at if I'm bringing Wickham up or Antonio changing? Then Wilson does seem the obvious one.
Definitely. I mean, for me at the moment, the 3 in order of my replacement options for Ings are Wilson, then Bamford, and then maybe Werner because of fixtures. I mean, Werner's underlying stats aren't the best, and I did take him out last week, and it seemed like he played quite wide when he came on. There's rumours he'll play quite wide again this week because Pulisic may not start, like you say. So yeah, I'd be looking at Wilson, Bamford down the centre. Anyway, all right. Should we move on? Everton against Man United is the first of the fixtures on Saturday. Well, United blanked in back-to-back home games, no goals scored, XG of 0.4, 2 shots on target in 2 games. Defence isn't much better, so they've given up 9 big chances in the last 4. Surprisingly, only 2 teams worse than them are Liverpool and Sheffield United. But that Aston Villa game, it skews Liverpool's stats because they are still top of the league. Rashford, he was bought in by 115,000 players ahead of the game against Arsenal, and after his hat-trick in the Champions League, but he played centrally, he had just 1 block shot, but he has returned 4 times in 6 this season, I suppose 75% of those were just in 1 game. So I do like to see a player who can sort of have a spread of returns, and that is a little bit worrying. I mean, he's been saving up most of his returns for the Champions League. Wouldn't surprise me if he returns again tonight. Do you look at any of the additional United players at the moment? Are any of them sort of sparking up for you ahead of the sort of slightly better run? I know you've already had Bruno. Are you a bit disappointed he got subbed, actually, last game week?
Especially when you're 1-0 down to Arsenal and you need to score a goal to win the game or draw at least. That is a strange option for Molly. He just seems to keep changing the team, and I don't like that. And I don't know. He just needs to keep his best players on the pitch and give them rest. I don't know, in like Carabao Cup or in especially tonight or in the Champions League when it's a bad team they're playing. So. I don't think there's anything to worry about. I think they need to get some good wins going and keep the team consistent. So I think Bruno is obviously still a shoo-in. I'm still happy for him for the next 2 at least, and then he may go after that. But just see where they are after the next 2 and just hope he can return this week, because Everton's like XGC has been 7.04, 17th at the moment. Wow. So you'd expect Man United to at least be able to score here.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose it just comes down to, like you say, how the team gets settled after these Champions League games, because they play well in them, and then afterwards it seems they sort of revert to much poorer standard of performance, and we've seen that in games against Chelsea and Arsenal. Do you think?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I was just going to say on the Everton side, they were pretty. Well, I would call them poor against Newcastle, I suppose, although. Calvert-Lewin, he still had 5 shots last week, which is the top of all strikers, which is kind of surprising when he didn't have James, he didn't have Digne, Richarlison, and all those guys. So, when I read that stat on Fantasy Football Hub, I was just like, wow, I did not expect that. And then he actually got the goal in the end, which I just did not see coming, to be honest. And then I was very happy, obviously, because he was one of my only returners. So, at 50% plus, when you've not captained him, it didn't do anything for my rank, unfortunately. XG of 0.73 and XA of 0.31, 1 big chance, 3 key passes, 2 bonus, and 8 points in that game. So doing it by himself, basically, which is good. And then he's going to get James, he's going to get Digne back. Only good things for him this week. Obviously, I expect him to be a big threat against Maguire and Lindelof, who obviously have not been playing well. I can see him scoring this week, especially with James and Digne back, as I said. So.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right. I think it's going to be another tough game for United, this one, especially when it comes on a Saturday after. I know that they play tonight, Wednesday. It's not much of a recovery time. I know they've sort of swapped a few players out, but I wouldn't be surprised at Everton winning that one.
Travelling from Turkey as well, exactly. So it's quite far.
It's not a quick one. All right, Palace, they're facing Leeds, and that's happening Saturday as well. Do you want to talk about Zaha, because he was quite brought in ahead of the game against Wolves on the Friday night? Yeah,
so inconsistent again. Obviously, Wolves have looked really good defensively, but he dropped a bit of a stinker. Versus Wolves, he had 2 shots, an XG of 0.06, so he didn't even get to 0.1. Wow. XA of 0.1, 1 key pass, 0 big chances created, and got a yellow card. So pretty rough for him there against Wolves, but Wolves have been good. So next 4 fixtures are still really good for him. You should, if you own him, you should probably back him to score. I think Leeds don't look good defensively again. And then Burnley, Newcastle and West Brom in the next 4. So these are still great fixtures for him. If you own, you've definitely got to keep backing him. I'm not so sure you would bring him in, though. I think Grealish around that price is obviously still a better option if you're going for someone around that price. I'm playing Eiling this week. I still believe in him, that he's got a haul coming. Obviously, he was the one who didn't score. It was obviously Dallas last week, which is super annoying. These seem to keep clean sheets whenever you least expect it. So maybe there's a clean sheet in them here, but I'm not really sure. But then after Zaha, the one player who did sort of impress, who I guess came in because of Mitchell's absence or his sort of injury, was Van Arnold. 5.4 million, 0.3% owned, so huge differential right now. Denied what looked like a clear penalty to me, and he also had assists ruled out for a disallowed goal. So he could have got 2 assists last week, and which is good for Van Arnold, because obviously Milivojevic got the red card as well, so he could be back on pens, possibly maybe Zaha's on pens, who knows. He looked like he is possibly an option going forward, because those next 4, there's some clean sheets there possibly as well. I quite like him. 5.4 million is quite expensive for someone who's in a Palace team that is a bit awkward. But if he's on set pieces and things like that, and you got somewhere to go, or you want to do a defensive transfer, I really like him.
I think 3 of those next 4 coming up, probably maybe not the Leeds game, but Burnley, Newcastle and West Brom are all teams that aren't hugely prolific in front of goal. So you could potentially see Palace be really dogged and pick up 3 out of 4 clean sheets. So yeah, it would be worth a short-term investment there.
Take Trent out to
Maybe,
PVA
exactly.
for Trent's got
Man City,
Liverpool,
Leicester,
Man City and Leicester next 2.
Brighton and Wolves. Yeah, maybe could be worth doing. Leeds side of things, their fixtures are quite mixed, really. I'd say they're probably quite poor, actually. The next 4, so they've got Palace away, like you say, traditionally quite difficult to break down. They've then got Arsenal, who've definitely improved defensively recently. Everton, Chelsea after that. Really sort of mixed bag there, and I can't really see many defensive returns. Are you thinking you want to move on from Eiling soon? You said, just a minute ago, it was annoying that he didn't return in that one. Or are you just happy just these 4.5 to the fact that you've got to play him every week, I suppose?
I don't want to spend much more in defence, so I think I'm just happy to keep him at this point.
Okay.
He'll probably just be benched for the tough games, and then just deal with it. Possibly upgrade James at some point to a City defender is what I'm looking at from Gameweek 10.
Okay.
So maybe if I have the money in the bank, I can get Eiling up to a City defender. That would be good. But yeah, he's just there to play in the sort of fixtures like in between that look okay. That sort of Everton away game looks okay. Arsenal at home might not even be that bad because Arsenal are not good defense attacking wise at the moment. So I could play him in that one. So it's just to sort of see where I can put him in basically. You know, you never know with Leeds. Like I think they can get clean sheets wherever, but it's just unlikely. Like they just have to turn up.
Yeah, I was quite surprised that they shipped 4 against Leicester. I kind of looked at that game on Monday and thought they're going to keep it. I mean, they're so hard to predict. I mean, they kept Man City fairly quiet, and then the week after that, they obviously kept Villa quiet, and Villa had been on a bit of a scoring spree. I mean, they scored 3, didn't they, against Southampton? They obviously scored the 7 against Liverpool. So it's strange how they sort of flip between putting in some really good defensive displays and then maybe not some good ones.
I texted you, didn't I? I said I've got Monday coming up. I've got Justin and Eiling coming in, and I'm sure they're going to conspire to give me the least FPL points possible, which obviously won't happen. So
they were close to doing it. On the Leeds attackers, obviously we've mentioned Ayling briefly there, who's still looking all right on the expected points. He's actually second highest of all Leeds players, 22.4. He was expected to have had in the last 4, and he's only had 9. Bamford tops the list, and like I say, he's someone who I have really considered strongly for replacing Ings with. So 20 shots in the last 4, 18 of those in the box, 7 big chances. I mean, like I say a minute ago, he is the best of all strikers in the last 4, and his expected points is high too, 28.6. And the most crucial one, I think, when you're looking at the striking numbers, is non-penalty XG, because we know he's not on penalties. And the fact that he's racked up 3.69 is quite good. I mean, he should have scored against Leicester, shouldn't he? He had that point-blank header right at Schmeichel saved. So, yeah, on another day, you'd be looking at... I think he had 3 big chances against Leicester. So it wasn't exactly like he was kept quiet. It just didn't fall for him. And we've seen that happen to players this season and return in the next game. So, yeah, I think...
And he's... Rodrigo's out as well with COVID. So he's nailed on at least.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and you can...
Yeah. Sorry.
You can see him score him against Palace. You can see him score him against Everton away, possibly Arsenal at home. Maybe, who knows? Because obviously Leeds are good attacking wise. So, yeah, I think it's probably short-sighted to rule him out over Wilson. But I don't know. I just don't trust him. It's just something about him that just feel like he's. If I owned him, like in that Leicester game, I'd just been ruin it and just be like, why did I ever get him? Sort of thing.
I suppose you've got to think he's fairly cheap. He's well owned though now, so no, it's not a surprise to him. 32%. So. Yeah, if you don't own, if you don't own him, you're praying for blanks. All right, Chelsea host Sheffield United Saturday fixture. There's lots to talk about really with Chelsea because, like you say, Pulisic had a potential injury. He might be ruled out. People like you might be waiting to move on if they're a bit more impatient. I'm still not convinced on Werner. Obviously, I took him out. I've been thinking about bringing him back in. He played quite wide against Burnley. What do you think of them moving into...
He had to, didn't he, because of what happened with Pulisic, but yeah.
But the fact that he was just rested anyway, I suppose. But yeah, they got some all right fixtures in the next 2. maybe the next 5.
Yeah, next two you got to back him to do well. I think they looked like they were starting to click. Honestly, I think Ziyech coming in looked really good. If Pulisic had played that game, I think they would have done really well. So yeah, imagine Tammy not there and Werner through the middle. I think they would have done smashed that game. So even though I guess they did, but yeah, Pulisic. Apparently, like I said earlier, just a minor tweak, not playing tonight, but could be on the bench for Sheffield United, which is obviously good. So, and then he's got, so then he's got 2 weeks of an international break, and he has been called up to the American squad, so they assume he's fit. Hopefully he doesn't play them and get injured again, but so it's tempting to keep him, but is he going to be fit enough to continue playing, or is this going to happen again? I don't know. So yeah, Pulisic replacements. Obviously, anyone else who has him, like me, Ziyech, I think obviously looked great. 14 points last week, 1 goal, 1 assist, XG of 0.15, XA of 0.43 with 1 key pass, 1 big chance created, and then obviously the fixtures of Sheffield United, Newcastle, Tottenham, Leeds, and Everton, which sound like a few goals there for him.
Do you back him? I mean, it feels like quite a small sample size. I think he created 1 big chance and it was scored, and he had 1 shot and it was scored. Do you want to see him after a couple more games and see how he performs, or do you quite like him?
Well, he played well. He played well in the Champions League before, got a goal the week before. Then I assume he's probably going to play tonight. See how he looks tonight. So yeah, I like him a lot. Maybe he needs another rest, maybe because he's only just come back from injury. But hopefully he would play this game. I don't know if the sort of side grade is worth it, but Pulisic's. I mean, he could come off the off the bench at Sheffield United and do well. So. Yeah, it's a tough one, honestly. I mean, I could downgrade to Grealish at 7.3, who still has great fixtures, obviously 15 points, 1 goal, 2 assists. His stats were really good as well. XG of 0.77, XA of 1.07, 1 big chance, 2 key passes, 2 big chances created. So that blows Ziyech out of the water, but Ziyech still only got 1 point less with less stats. So I suppose, I don't know if that's good for Ziyech or not, but... and then possibly Rashford if I really want to spend a bit more. I've got the money in the bank, but probably not, honestly. So it's out of those two, or I just leave him and just do that Wickham move or Antonio move. I don't know. What would you suggest?
I really like Grealish, and he's been playing well, and he's playing differently than last season as well. I mean, the fact that he's had the most key passes, I think, this season, in the last 4 with 12. He's had 5 big chances created. He's also had 4 big chances himself. 10 shots in the box with only 2 fewer than Salah, 1 fewer than Kane. I think Grealish looks like a really good pick, and at 7.3, he offers such good value to enable you upgrade it elsewhere. I mean, he would be the cheapest of your midfielders by at least 1 million, isn't Pulisic? Pulisic 8.5 or 8.3? So he is just 1 million cheaper than Pulisic. He's the talisman, the key player in that Villa team. So I'm happy to have Grealish. I mean, he's got a tricky game this week against Arsenal, but after that, I think the fixtures are quite good for Aston Villa, Brighton, Newcastle.
Or just as I said earlier, I've got the money to go straight to Kevin again and get him in it early before that swing, and possibly get some. Liverpool is maybe not a tough fixture for goals, and then Tottenham after that. I don't think it's a tough fixture really for attack wise. Okay,
lots to think about for your transfers this week, I tell you.
So defense wise, they've had 5 clean sheets out of 6 for Mendy so far, which and Kepa, I think, only, I don't know if this is right, but I think I saw something on it. It only kept 3 clean sheets since January, so that's basically the whole year. Chilwell obviously looks really good, nailed on, got either a clean sheet or an attacking return in all of his games with Chelsea bar 1, and that's included in Champions League. So he's looking really good. If you're looking at tired of Trent, then Chilwell looks good. Then James also looking quite possibly a good option again. I've kept him just because I don't know why, but 8 and 6 the last 2 weeks. He's been inches away from assists again. He assisted the assister last week. Passes the eye test big time. So hopefully he rests again in the Champions League tonight, and then he plays at the weekend. Because I mean, if I sell Pulisic, is James enough cover at Chelsea? Because I think Chelsea look good to the next 2. I don't really want to have no Chelsea in that. So XGC as well is second overall as a team at the moment for Chelsea. So You could even go for a double up, possibly, if you really think that the defense is
fully turned a
fixed,
corner.
I suppose. Then yeah, it's an option.
I think it's really difficult to analyze the Chelsea team because there's only 3 spots obviously in your team that you can have 3 Chelsea players, and there's so many close viable options. Like you say, Chilwell and James are really closely matched. Let's just take it from a position rather than doubling up. You've got Pulisic, Ziyech, and Havertz, who are all quite similar midfielders, providing similar options. I mean, you've got Mount in the background there, always chipping away. Up front, maybe you've only got Werner, but he's been threatened a little by Tammy. I think it's quite difficult to make the decision, definitely in the defensive midfield, between Chilwell, James, and one of the midfielders. And I think they've got such good value and a pretty decent run coming up that it's important to get on them. If I was going to pick now a fresh wildcard, I think I'd have Chilwell, and I think I'd probably just about have Ziyech. But I do quite like Havertz. I think maybe just because he hadn't returned against Burnley, people have forgotten about him. But I mean, before that, he'd been playing quite well. So it'll be interesting to see more games with the 3 of them starting with hopefully with Werner.
I think I heard that Havertz possibly had COVID, so I don't think it's been announced yet. I think they've been quite quiet about it, but don't take that as gospel or anything. So that's just what I heard.
All right, Sheffield United side of things, I'll keep them brief because they're not too interesting. But they've lost 9 of their last 10 now, so they're not really viable as FPL picks. Amazingly, had a higher XG per game than Arsenal in the last 4. I think that probably says somewhere about how poor Arsenal's fixtures were, but that did make me laugh when I noticed that. Ramsdale
still beat United.
Still beat United. Yeah, Ramsdale was obviously, he's actually quite a differential, under nearly 3% owned, 4.9 million. He's been in my team since Gameweek 1. Amazingly, he's been doing the best sort of expected points and points wise of Sheffield United players in the last 4. So he's had 19. He's not particularly high up in anything else really. 7th highest overall points of goalkeepers in the last basically since the start of the season. He does top all the goalkeepers for saves in the last 4 with 18, so he's doing something right there, and he's secured save points or multiple save points in all but the first 2 game weeks. So I kind of think I'm just going to leave him in there, and eventually they'll get some clean sheets, and maybe these points will rack up. But it's a shame really. He started at 5 million, he's dropped, but what can you do? That's about it on the Sheffield United front. I was going to mention Brewster, but he's been really quiet in his first 3 appearances, managed just 1 shot. But, I mean, fair enough. He's played Liverpool and City in those games, so maybe there are more to come. I think their fixtures are, I don't know, after this Chelsea game, they get a better run. So they've got West Ham, West Brom, Leicester and Southampton in the 4 following that. So maybe we'll see an upturn in form and, fingers crossed, clean sheets. Because he's only got 18 points after 7 games. It's pretty wretched. Anyway, that's enough on that for me. West Ham against Fulham, Kieran. Is that still happening on Saturday? Yeah, it is. It's the Saturday night big one. Saturday night, 8 o'clock. West Ham against Fulham on BT Sport box office. BT Sport probably pay us for plugging stuff like that, I would have thought. Anyway.
Yeah, maybe we should get in touch.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so West Ham side, the start of the good run, who obviously I wish I had Antonio for, but, got to make do of what you have. So if you're looking at West Ham right now, I think their defence could be a decent option. The XGC is like mid-table. So Kufal, Cresswell, Masuaku options for cheap. Cresswell's obviously slightly a bit more expensive at 5.1, I believe, but his obviously stats have been quite good. Sort of assisting stats at least on set pieces. But I want to mention Fornals versus Bowen for the last 4 weeks. So if Antonio isn't there, if you want to possibly go for one of these guys. So shots 9 versus 4. Fornals in the league quite big time there. Big chances 2 versus 1. An XG of 1.46 versus 0.57. So in the lead a lot there. XA of 0.79 versus 0.23. So Fornals looks like assisting more too. Big chances, I've already said that. That must be big chances created. 2 versus 1. Key passes, 4 versus 2. And then points, 26 versus 14. So Fornals looks to be beating Bowen across the board and all the attacking metrics. So, when people look at someone else in that team other than Antonio, people usually think, oh, Bowen, he looks good. But Fornals, less attractive name possibly, but he's way better at the moment right now. So, and those fixtures look decent enough, so especially for attacking returns. So I quite like him, and he's pretty cheap. So yeah, if you want to go punty, pretty low owned as well.
Yeah,
so
I quite like that shout, to be honest. I watched that Liverpool game and I thought Fornals did really impress me, and it's been a shame really because I've been sat on Souček for so long now, and I sort of pinpointed these 3 fixtures, but it's got to the point now that I'm like, oh, I'm sick of him. And there's, I know I have to, but there's better players in that West Ham midfield, and Fornals definitely up there. On the Fulham side of things, yay for them that they got their first clean sheet of the season. Mitrovic with 2 assists. I'm not really too keen on many of their players still. I mean, their fixtures are still okay for the next 2, I'd say. They got West Ham away and then Everton at home. But after that, they start to get really stinky. Leicester away, Man City away, Liverpool. So you're going to be looking at those teams trying to target Fulham, who before this West Brom game had just been so porous. Expected points in the last 4, no surprise. Mitrovic tops it. He's had 3 big chances. He's created 2 big chances as well. Those were both converted into goals in the West Brom game. No one else really stood out. Areola, the goalkeeper, is also high on the expected points. He estimated he should have had 20 in the last 4. He's only managed 15. But yeah, it's a difficult one to judge, really. I do think they and West Brom are going to go down. I feel like we say the same thing about them every week. There's no one really there from a fantasy point of view that I really want to invest in. I think it's too much of a risk. I mean, Mitrovic is having a lot of shots, but
I think he had 0 shots this
week. Yeah. But in the last 4
against West Brom,
in the last 4 he's had a lot, but his XG is really low. His shots are wayward, inaccurate. So it's a strong no from me at the moment on them. It's a shame.
Let's move
on. Okay. West Brom, we just mentioned very briefly, they host Spurs. Should we start by talking about the penalty? Because it was a farce, wasn't it?
Yeah. I retweeted something, a video of Kane does it every week. He just backs into, he looks at the defender, backs into them when they jump up. The defenders only have the eye on the ball, and it's just one of the defenders landing awkwardly, and it's a broken neck, and he's just
it's dangerous.
Yeah, he's just scummy. It's very dangerous, and how he wins the penalty for it. He fouled for whoever the hell it was, Lallana. Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. It's just an absolute joke. And then he obviously goes and scores because most people captain him. And he gets the penalty. It's just absolute piss take to me. But that's Kane to you. He's the nation's darling, isn't he? So
I remember the first game I really noticed him do it was when England played Colombia in the World Cup. And I'd obviously seen him do it a bit before that, but my God, England were playing like...
He's been doing it since then. So
England were playing long balls in that game, and I swear if you watch the highlights, that game sticks out in my mind for Kane just being like crushed by Colombian defenders and just winning us tons of free kicks.
Or something.
Yeah, Mina.
Yeah. But he backs into them.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
So the video I shared was him doing it to Cresswell like 2 weeks ago or something. It's just like... It's mental because Cresswell is literally just looking straight at the ball, and then Kane's just like looks at him, goes around and just backs into his legs, and Cresswell falls down on top of him, and Kane gets a free kick. And it's just like, well, what the fuck? Sorry,
it's right. No,
but yeah.
If you chat about West Brom for a minute, I'm just going to look at how many times Kane got fouled in that Colombia England game, just out of interest.
How are you going to manage to?
I'm sure that we'll find it somewhere.
Okay. So yeah, West Brom fixtures. Tottenham, Man United, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace, Newcastle. So after these next 2 look okay, but we're not saying we're ever going to get them. So team stats, XG of 2.31, which is the last of every team with 1 goal scored last 4 weeks. XGC of 5.16, which is actually 6th overall, which is kind of weird. Yeah. I never expected that with only 5 conceded. So yeah, kind of strange. But yeah, players wise, there's pretty much no one to talk about. Johnston, you said last week, the keeper's doing all right, but yeah, lost 2-0 to Fulham of all teams. It looked like they absolutely needed to keep points. So like you said, nailed on to go down. And I've just got here, do not sack Bilic because nobody else is going to be better than him. Nobody else can save them. So yeah, just puff of smoke. See you later,
exactly. Who knows? On the West Brom front, right? I've found the answer, Kieran. So in that game against Colombia, Kane got fouled 9 times. 9 times in one game. So let me just have a quick look here. But all players in the league this season, if anyone's been fouled as much as 9 times already. Okay, so in the first
Grealish, obviously,
first 7 game weeks, only 2 players have been fouled more for 9 times. Mane and Grealish 10 and 10 and 12 times. So that's over 7 games. Kane got fouled 9 times. I thought he went down a lot in that game. Anyway, talking of Kane, it's a tough one for me between the captaincy this week because Son's higher owned than Kane. He's 58%, and I think he's probably performs better in.
Is he 58%?
Yeah, 58%. I know he's shot up. Yeah, Kane's high as well. Kane's on 40. Some might even be higher now.
I've just checked now. He's nearly on 60%.
Wow.
I don't think anyone's ever been owned by 60%.
That's a hell of a lot of people. But the reason why I think he's a good captaincy option is literally his away performances. So 24 points, 18 points, 11 points. Those are his 3 returns in away games this season. He is basically set up. He's the king of away games so far this season. He's just set up to be played in behind, Kane finding him with the balls. I wonder, though, if he will have been sussed out. Like, are West Brom going to combat that by playing really deep? Because West Brom certainly aren't going to play as high as Southampton did. They're certainly not going to be as attacking as Man United were. And Burnley, I'd say probably that was the most similar. And Son just got on the end of a header from a corner. So perhaps that's the most similar game. But I do think that the returns won't be as high this week. But I do think he'll return well. Anyway, on Kane, he's now returned every game since game week 1. He's tied with Son on 71 points. 5 big chances is the second highest total so far this season. 3 big chances created is the third highest total. So he's producing and returning himself, which is always a good sign. Fixtures do turn after this, but I think he's so important to Spurs playing well. There's reason to hold him, and I think if Bale's sort of a bit sharper coming into this one and he's able to start, then you'd think that Spurs front three are going to return even in the big games too. Playing on the counter attack, they're bound to. I think also worth mentioning is Reguilon. I think is that how you pronounce that?
Reguilon, I think.
So I think he looked really good in open play in the game on Monday. Obviously set up Bale for the goal, but generally I thought he got forward quite well. 6 penalty box entries, the 4th highest of all defenders this weekend. And I think there's probably a bit more from him to come. He had a decent shot saved inside the box. I just thought he looked like quite a tidy player. If Spurs can sort out their defensive side and keep more clean sheets, I think Reguilon could be a sort of player a bit like Chilwell bracket where you're going to get some decent attacking and defensive returns. It's just a shame that he's only really reared his head as they approach a trickier run.
Yeah, and captaincy there might even be triple captains this week.
Oh, yeah.
On Kane or Son. So captaincy effective EO is going to be through the roof.
Oh yeah.
And I think the effective ownership or the combination of Son and Kane was something like 40%. So even that, like, you don't often see that of being like huge percent. And I obviously don't own Kane still, and I still not going to own Kane. So it's worrying, honestly. But if Son can at least keep or cover Kane and get some points this week, and I've got him captain, I'd be happy with that. But it's so obvious to captain this week because West Brom have been so bad, and the other fixtures aren't great for captaincy. No. So it's just Son, Kane, and that's basically it.
It's fallen nicely, isn't it? All right. Is there any more to mention on this game?
No.
Okay, all right. So we've got 3 games left, starting with Leicester against Wolves, which is the Sunday lunchtime fixture. Where do you want to start on Leicester? Big win on Monday.
Yeah, Vardy coming back in. Shout out to FPL Nobody Is Safe on Twitter. He captained Vardy. Wow. 2 assists, 1 goal, 28 points. He's had 7 of 14 since returning from injury, and he's actually only blanked twice. So he's had 9 returns in 6 games. Obviously, he missed a good few with injury. XG wise, 1.87, XA of 0.69, 1 big chance created, 4 big chances, 2 key passes, 6 shots. I think that was the last 4 weeks that he's played. Okay. Performing highly across the board with other than shots really. His XG is obviously towards penalties as well, but he's been clinical. Shots I don't really think are an issue because Vardy is often a stats raker, as everyone says. So could have had a hat-trick because the penalty was awarded like literally minutes after he went off. So could have been even a bit higher for captaincy. Next 2 fixtures, I've been tempted to bring him in, honestly. Wolves and Liverpool don't look like that bad of fixtures for him, and I think he's looking like he's hitting form. So but the next 2 fixtures are still rough on paper, I guess. takes a chunk of your budget, I suppose, at 10 million. And there is other options that are doing well. So it's just whether you want to go for that risk, I suppose. And he is 17.8% owned, which is still quite high. I think that's possibly dead teams, but could be worth it, honestly, the next two. I think he could score against Liverpool, could score against Wolves. I obviously hope not, because I own Kilman, but I think he's finding decent form. And then someone else to mention other than sort of Barnes as well, he's obviously done well, possibly Tielemans. 4 shots, 2 big chances, XG of 1.47, which is mainly due to the penalty, but XA of 0.11, 0 key passes, 0 pre chances, which isn't great, but I think we need to see him start stepping up a bit more with his assist potential over a couple of weeks. Then he could be an option instead of the obvious Barnes and Vardy in that team.
Yeah, no, I like all the options. Well, Vardy's sort of a bit more appealing than he was a few weeks ago, basically. We were sort of slating him, weren't we? The lack of... I mean, like you say, he never won for having great stats, but when he puts in a performance like he did away against Leeds, I think it's... everyone sort of sits up and takes notice again.
It's a definite option after 2 weeks' time. After these next two, then he's got Fulham, Sheffield United, Brighton, Everton. So those 4 are good.
Well, I'm pleased now that in my team I've got a bit of structure, so I've got one expensive striker, and the fact that Tottenham's fixtures turn right when Leicester's get quite good, I'm sort of thinking it's quite a nice one because I'd rather sacrifice Kane than Son, just because purely from a price point of view, and those extra points for midfielders. So I think Kane will probably leave my team soon, and Vardy with those fixtures looks like quite a nice way to move, really. So and keep my eye on Vardy. Unfortunately, I can't afford him this week, but in a few weeks' time, I think he's probably going to be coming in for Kane, barring any other major injuries.
Jealous.
All right. Wolves side of things, I've got Seiss, 21% ownership. So going into this game week, he was the highest scoring defender in the game. Now he's potentially lost his place, so perhaps time to look for alternatives. And I say that really because they've had 4 clean sheets so far this season. That's the most in the league. They've moved ahead of Villa. So, I mean, I kind of think that's what explains a little bit. That's why it's affected their attacking output. They've had all these new players sort of integrate in the team. And Nuno's focused, especially defenders, and Nuno's focused on defence first. So since the start of the season, they've the 4th lowest XG after West Brom, Fulham and Burnley. So they are way down. None of their... Well, I was really keen on Jimenez when they had at the start of that really good fixture run. And I'm kind of glad I didn't take the plunge. I know he scored a couple goals, but their sort of stats don't fill me with confidence that it's going to get better quickly, really. Anyway, to move back onto Seiss, I have him, so I was having a look at alternatives. I kind of think Cody is a bit uninspiring, but it seems like a sensible move. He started every game, he plays every game. He does have little to no goal threat. Basically, he didn't have a shot last season. He didn't have a shot so far this season. So he doesn't add a lot of extras, but maybe you just don't deserve extras for just 5 million. Kilman's obviously the one you probably want to look to. You've got him 4.2 million now, 9, 12, 2 and 6 in the last 4 games. Hot property, basically. 4 fixtures, he managed 6 bonus in that time. That's nearly the same as Cody managed all of last season. So I think Kilman's good. Do you think he's going to stay in the team though? That's my big question.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, I got him for the 2 and 6, his 2 lowest scoring. But I don't see why not. He's looked so good. So I think Nuno rewards good games for players. So
why is he taking Seiss
why would you
out?
drop him? Well, he's just not looked good in the wing back role, is he? So I think that's just why.
It's a shame, really. So Seiss might have to be one of my transfers out. Maybe not this week because I think I've got enough. I've got 3 players to play it, and he's not crucial. But we'll see. All right, moving swiftly on. We're going to talk about Man City against Liverpool, the big one on Sunday, and it's actually at a reasonable time on Sunday, isn't it? It's not like it's an evening game. It's a proper 4:30 Sunday kickoff time.
They didn't put it on box office.
Didn't put it on box office. Just normal Sky. Liverpool obviously had a great win in the Champions League last night, as did City, both winning 2-0, I think. Jota scored his first hat-trick for Liverpool. Do you think he knocks Firmino out of the team this week?
Well, I think Klopp has already said that Firmino will play the next game. So it's just whether Jota plays as well, which possibly means like Mane or Salah would have to drop out. So probably not. Jota probably comes on the bench and then comes on, I reckon. But he could still do well on the break against I think he's had a good record against City. I'm not entirely sure. There might have been Traore actually, but yeah, Jota off the bench against a counter attack against City, I don't think is bad either. No. So yeah, if he starts, I think he's an option to get, and he's possibly replacing Firmino. Yeah. 6.3, then he's definitely an option. But I think Firmino plays, and then after this game, if Firmino doesn't do much, Jota comes on, possibly scores, then I think he's 100% an option. And you probably have to get him in your team at that point, because it's 6.3, a forward at Liverpool.
Playing that position.
Just absolute no-brainer. Like a 3.1%, he's going to rocket up in price.
I think he's actually got, so I think he went up. He might not have had a price rise. Oh yeah, I think he did have a price rise last night. I think he's gone up to 6.4.
He probably did.
He's 5% owned now, so he's still a mega differential. But his numbers are good. So in I think it's 5 games he's played so far this season, he's scored 3. And looking at that generally, that's 3 goals in 214 minutes. Is the joint best record of like goals per minute, tied with Bale. So yeah, if he can knock Firmino out of the team, or even just come off the bench more, I think he's actually a really good option, because Liverpool are going to score goals. If they don't score with him starting and they need him to come on and score one, then he's proved he can do it.
Yeah, and it's something like Firmino has scored 5 goals in like 5 games or something, and Firmino has scored like 5 goals in like 100 games, something weird shit. And it was just so that's kind of crazy. On
Salah, so he had 3 shots in the box at the weekend, which was the same as both Maguire and Mings, which really made me laugh when I saw that. So he's averaged 8.2 points per game this season, and which is almost bang on what he got this weekend. Always a safe captaincy option. What do you think about in captaincy this week against that Man City team?
City looked quite good defensively. Laporte and Diaz played the first game together last week, kept a clean sheet, didn't they? So I think it's probably a void for me. I think with the Spurs fixture, it's too obvious. So I think if I didn't have a Spurs player, then I'd probably go Salah. But because I think he looked good last night at least, and he seems to just be consistent. So yeah.
And what I'm finding on the other Liverpool talking point, the main one, Trent and Robbo again. We see it. We're probably going to say it every week. They don't keep a clean sheet now. Blanked in 5 of the last 7 games. This is Trent. Was thinking West Ham, Sheffield United, back-to-back home games. They look like one of them at least stick on clean sheet. He obviously didn't get anything. They've got City, Wolves, Brighton, Leicester next. Chelsea defender could be good, or a second Wolves defender. Do you think? Is it time yet to move away from Trent? I feel like I'm going to be asking this every week, but I would do it if I didn't have to take it. I don't like taking 4-point hit for a defender, and it's not crucial, and I've got other problems with Ings and Seiss. But yeah, I'd be all over getting him out if I had a free transfer in my pocket.
Yeah, if I didn't have other issues, then yeah, would be interested. But at the same time, like, they're keeping clean sheets. Trent is assisting for finding the Champions League. They're keeping clean sheets in the Champions League. So it just has to correlate into one Premier League game, and then everyone's probably going to be happy again. Yeah. And Trent gets an assist and he gets a haul there. Probably not this game, but who knows? It could be. We've seen stranger things. So yeah, at the moment he's just staying just because I've got other issues. But I like Chilwell, as we said. Chilwell looks good for the next 2 at least. So if you've got nothing to do, or PVA, if you really want to go for it, then
we could do
why
that.
not?
Yeah, no. All right. Man City, Kieran.
Yeah, okay. So comfortable win in the Champions League last night, 3-0. KDB has assisted 5 goals since coming back from injury. Jesus came back and scored as well. And then Torres also scored in the Champions League last night. So next 2 fixtures, Liverpool and Tottenham. Not amazing, but obviously we know it's City, they can score against anyone. And then Burnley, Fulham, Man United, their fixtures, I've got it written out from Gameweek 10. Burnley, Fulham, Man United, West Brom, Southampton, Newcastle, Everton, Chelsea, Brighton, Crystal Palace, West Brom, Sheffield United, Burnley. So it's tons of greens, and it's amazing. So I'm tempted, like I said, tempted to get Kevin in early for these next 2 as well, because I don't think they're that bad for him. So and then I think a double up could be great as well. I want to get a defender as well, at least for those runs, because Diaz has looked good. He's played every single minute of the Premiership so far. Rested in the Champions League as well, so he's good to go. Cancelo as well. Someone's one I want to mention at 5.4. He looks like he's the hipster rotation option because he's got some sort of like attacking threat. But he was rested in the Champions League, came on late and scored. So yeah, Cancelo's looked good so far. I think he got 8 last week with 2 bonus. So, you know, he's looking quite good. I think he's 5.4 million, so a bit cheaper than Diaz. So, yeah, I like their defence. I think they're keeping clean sheets all the time at the moment. So, yeah. So Torres as well, okay. 6.9 million. He's been playing the false 9 role, and Sterling's gone out to the left, I think it is, yeah. And he's looked really good. He's completely passed the eye test. I think he had 3 big chances before scoring against it in the Champions League last night. So, yeah, I think he's looked good. Against Sheffield United, he had 5 shots, 2 big chances as well, 0 key passes, an XG of 1.12, and he did score in that game, I think, didn't he? Last week, I think he was the one who got the goal.
Against Sheffield United.
So yeah, and
no, it was Carl Walker, long ranger.
It was, yeah, sorry, yeah. But yeah, he's obviously had encouraging stats from that game. He's scored 3 of the last 4 in Champions League. So yeah, I like him. Is he going to be nailed on at any point? Who knows? Jesus back is obviously a problem for him, but at 0.08% owned, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Where would you spend your money in this Man City team? Because like I say, after this Liverpool game and maybe in the Tottenham game, they have got this great run. Well, who are your sort of top 2 or maybe even your top 3 prime candidates?
So Sterling hasn't really been doing much lately, so I think it's Kevin nailed on, and then it's a Diaz or a Cancelo. I think you should have one of the defenders. I think because they look so good from Liverpool and from Gameweek 10, like Burnley and Fulham. There's clean sheets there, 100%. Diaz should be the one that's safe. Laporte, I think, has got more threat going forward, but he's possible rotation risk at some points. But Diaz, like I said, has played every minute in defence so far, so I like him. But yeah, they didn't look like they were going to score a lot against forgetting who it was in the Champions League last night, but Olympiacos it was actually. Yeah, it was only 1-0 up until like the 70th minute, and they weren't looking like they were scoring loads. So they're not exactly clicking so much into attack yet, but yeah, Kevin's still returned last week. Got assists in the Champions League instead. So yeah, 11.5 million. He's not really a captain option yet, but he could be at least over this run, that's for sure. So yeah.
What way do you see this game in particular going? Liverpool against Man City on Sunday.
Oh, it's impossible to call, isn't it?
I find it really difficult.
I have no idea. You'd guess it would probably be tight, but then again, like Liverpool, I don't know if they can defend enough in this game. So I reckon City win it.
Yeah, I think City win
2-1. 2-1.
I kind of feel like it's going to be a big haul from Foden this weekend as well. He did well against.
Oh, he was awful in Champions League last night.
But he was really good in that Liverpool game, sort of in Project Restart, and I kind of think it'll be a bit similar pattern. I think City will have a lot of the ball and pin Liverpool back without Van Dijk. I kind of see like a player like Foden, maybe Sterling, is going to score big this game week. But yeah, we'll see. I'm looking forward to it a lot. All right, last game of the game week: Arsenal against Villa. Should I start by just giving a big shout out to Big Jack Grealish, because I was pumped with him.
Yeah.
15 points, Kieran. 15.
So 15 annoying.
Juicy points. What? Why is he annoying?
He could have had more if he didn't give. He could have had more if he didn't give the penalty away. But just classic him. Like I thought Saints just had to like go and concede 3 late because they just turned off. Like, what are they doing? They're 4-0 up, or what, wasn't it? Like,
it was ridiculous. Yeah,
it's just,
I couldn't believe it.
I was just thinking, clean sheet coming here. Villa, everyone's just gonna want rid of Villa quickly now, and then just Grealish just looks good and just doesn't stop.
Well,
returning.
maybe it will worth getting rid of Martinez. I mean, I thought it was a poor performance against Saints. So 2 goals after 90 minutes, and like I say, 7 goals conceded without reply before their comeback. So. Yeah, Martinez, who obviously had all those mammoth price rises, has now had a pretty poor back-to-back game. Well, I think he got 3 points, didn't he, in the game before this one, but they ended up having a 0. So, a bit of a reality check for him. But I still think he's a good option. But yeah, sorry, on to Grealish. He's the 3rd highest scoring mid now after 6 games, considering he didn't play that first one. And the 2 in front of him did, Salah and Son. So yeah, looking really sharp from that point of view. Last 3 games, not including Liverpool. He's the 2nd highest of all players for expected points. 3 big chances created, 7 shots in the box, 4th highest total. So he's been doing a lot and he's been doing it well. I think the most notable thing about those Grealish stats is I didn't want to include the Liverpool game because I almost thought it was like a bit of a freak result. But I think the one which has stood out to me the most is the fact that he's the third highest scoring mid and he's played a game less than the other two mids in front of him, Salah and Son, and it's such a good price, I think, and good fixtures. It's a bit mad to overlook him at the moment. So after Arsenal, Brighton, West Ham, Newcastle, Wolves, Burnley, West Brom, Crystal Palace. That takes you up until Boxing Day. So he's your set and forget for Christmas, I think, if you get him pretty soon. The only other, Watkins, I did mention him earlier when we were talking about Ings' replacement, so he's probably worth mentioning. He did score the goal from the penalty spot, picked up some bonus, 6 million. The thing which puts me off him a little bit is he's only returned in 2 of 6 games, so when Aston Villa have scored big, he's just got involved. He hasn't won any games for them yet. But he's looking all right from expected points. 15.6 is the 5th highest of all forwards in last 3. So there's some decent numbers there. And again, I did last 3 because that Liverpool game was a bit of a freak. So yeah, not too bad on the Villa side of things. Good fixtures, just a bit of a shocking performance really this weekend.
Yeah, he did absolutely naffle until he begged Grealish for the penalty, which is in FPL terms that's absolute killer. It's just so annoying. But it probably would have been worse if Grealish got the points. So yeah. There's that. I think that they could blank this week because Arsenal have been really good defensively, right? So their XGC of 3.69, which is 5th overall, with only 3 conceded. Obviously, kept a clean sheet away at Man United, which is maybe not that great, but still historically is good. But then again, their XG is 3.89, which is 15th overall, and they've only scored 3 of the last 4 weeks. So they've become a defensive side, it seems like. So Arteta changing their sort of way, I suppose, into just not losing games, being solid. Bellerin, someone to mention, 6.1%, 5 million. Played every minute of every game so far. 3 assists across the season already, which is going under the radar. He's had 5, 2, 0, 11, 2, 1 and 12. So he's had some blanks, but then again, he's got 3 assists and he's got 2 hauls in him. So they're set up to defend the season. I think Villa and Leeds do score goals in the next 2, but I think you maybe avoid for the next 2 the defensive, but I think Bellerin could be an option at some point this season. His XA of 0.54 is pretty good. 1 shot, 0 big chances, but 3 key passes and 1 big chance created. And then I just think Bellerin, Tierney, people like that, Gabriel at 5 million, I think they're decent options going forward. And then just to mention Aubameyang, 32nd of all mids for shots over the last 4 weeks was 6th. One of them was the penalty against Man United, and then Torres from Man City has 1 more shot than him in 279 less minutes. So there's that's a damning stat for Aubameyang, people, or it's because I don't know. Maybe you look at these next 2 thinking, oh yeah, Aubameyang against Arsenal and Leeds. Nah.
It's another case. It's another case of Wolves, isn't it? Of Arsenal, in terms of they've focused so much on getting the defensive side right that it's really affected their attacking output. I mean, they've got a game against Wolves in 3 game weeks' time. You're thinking if it's anything other than a 0-0, it's probably going to be wrong. You think Aubameyang's going to pick up from here and go on a little run now that the fixtures have eased a little bit? Villa, Leeds, Wolves, Tottenham, Burnley. You think no? You think it's still going to be struggle?
Maybe.
I feel like he's maybe got a bad rep because they played Liverpool and City a couple games in the last 4. But yes, he has been a bit poor.
But he didn't do much in the first 2 games when we started. I mean, he got that 1 goal and then 1 assist, wasn't it? And so he didn't do much then either. So
no, I kind of hope he does turn a corner and it gives us another option or problem option in midfield. But at the moment, he's not worth considering. Right, Kieran, let's talk about the little final bits before we rippity wrap up. Should we start? Well, captaincy we've sort of discussed as we've been through the show. I'm quite set on Son, barring any injury news from the Europa League on Thursday. I'm pretty sure it's going to remain on him. Is it the same for you?
Yeah, it's because it was my only Spurs option. So okay.
Son. All right, Cougar Cup picks I think is an interesting one this week. Do you want to go first again?
Okay, so. He scored in the Champions League tonight, and I'm going to go for Martial, who I think should come straight back in against Everton, who haven't looked good defensively. Yeah, I like that. Okay, I like that too. So I based it on stats this week. So Sheffield United have got the worst expected goals conceded rate in the last 3 games, 6.5. So it means I'm going to pick a Chelsea player, and I'm going to go with
Ziyech. Even though I said I wasn't keen on him after just the one game.
What happens if I bring him in though? Then what? What's your
I'll go
backup?
Havertz. I'll double down on the Chelsea
Okay,
midfielders.
fine.
But yeah, I kind of feel like they're due another big game. They scored 4, they scored 3. Depending on what they do tonight, I feel like they could put another 2 or 3 past Sheffield United this weekend. And I look at my team and I think I need a Chelsea player in it. But anyway, there's a go. The transfers. You know what we're going to do?
No closer to deciding. Like I said, it's Pulisic to Ziyech, it's Pulisic to Kevin, it's Antonio to possibly Wilson, or Wickham up to Wilson. I've got options and I'm not sure still.
I was really set on Ings to Wilson and keeping it nice and easy with a free transfer. But after seeing those Sheffield United stats and the Chelsea fixtures, I might do Ings to Werner and Seiss down to Cody because I can just afford that. But
I can afford Werner if I wanted to.
I'm not. The only thing about Werner is I'm not 100% set on his stats, which is why I haven't really sort of considered him before. Like he doesn't show up high on sort of shots in the box for players in the last 3 game weeks. He's not high up, so he's not really top of my thinking. I don't think he's even in the top 10. I think even Maguire has had more shots in the box than Werner in the last 3 game weeks. So yeah, he's not so hot there. All right, any more to add this game week?
No, I think we've covered it.
I think we've covered it. All right, well, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be back next week week after next, won't we? Because it's the international break. We're back week after next with our Game Week 9 preview. So good luck, everyone, until then, and we'll see you on the flippity flip side.
Cheers, everyone. Good luck.